Hey, Rama.
Hi, Tracy. Hi, Aaron.
Hello, Rama. Hi.
Hey, how are you? Tracy, it's going to be a long weekend, right? Monday is a holiday night.
Yes, that's correct. Long weekend. This is my last call of the day, my first call of the day.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm kind of like, okay, how much time will we put in today? We'll see.
Sorry for making you
What?
wake up so early.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. I
Okay,
mean, for you, it's late on a Friday night. I mean, you're probably ready to start your weekend, beyond ready to start your weekend.
yeah. That's as I mentioned the last time. That's why I scheduled this like bi-weekly. Having this
Yep.
7:30 on Friday every weekend is going to be bad. I think maybe we'll get started. Others can join. That'd be great. Uh, and of course, there'll be the recording to hear later. So, unfortunately, it's been really busy time for me. It's going to be so for till the end of September. So I didn't get too much time to dwell on it, but I did start making a table of badges that, as we discussed in the last meeting 2 weeks ago, that I should drop a list of potential badges, and we could then iterate over them and figure out what is the right set, because I think maybe we don't want to have too many badges. That is just going to create put a lot of burden on the developers and on the TOC. So I created this page. The link is there on the okay, just sorry. Before that, since I created this page, uh, everybody, please follow the Hyperledger Code of Conduct and the antitrust policy notice. So the agenda item, this is like a kind of minor thing, but we can maybe get to it again later. We sort of discussed this last time as well. But I think the major thing we want to do here today is to review the list of candidate list of badges for projects and their associated criteria for acquiring those badges, validating them, and their impact on how a project moves through its different stages. So I created this table here. Need to fill a bunch of things here, but this is at least it's a start. So there are a bunch of badges here that let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the first 8 of these uh, are from let me see. Yeah, they are from the earlier discussion that the TSC had about 2.5 years ago, as you can see here. So I just copied those uh, there, and they all seem reasonable to me. And I just linked to this particular page for details on what those particular badges indicate. So should we just go over them one by one just to make sure that what you all to figure out if these are actually the kind of badges that we want to retain?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. So I think since the first 8 are on this page, I'm just going to go here. So legal, we already discussed this 2 weeks ago. I think this is reasonable. The sort of the minimum requirement we have for any project, indeed for any labs project. So I guess that's maybe all that's to be said. Other than that, as you mentioned, Tracy, need to check with Rai about the automated GitHub action to scan a code repo and ensure that all code is made available under the Apache license. I think that's something we can mandate. So,
Yep.
so yeah. Okay. So moving on to decentralized, I think this I think clear sort of why we need this. It's maybe we don't want a particular project that is managed just by one maintainer or even one organization. Probably uh, needs to be we need to question whether it should be moved up to a graduated stage. So the question then is, how do we, so again, you both agree that this is an important thing to badge a project on? The fact that it has multiple maintainers from different organizations?
Yeah, I think especially for a certain level, right? I think for if you graduated, you should definitely have this being met. I think, it's very possible that we might bring in a project to labs or incubation that only has one
Right.
sort of organization or one individual that's kind of contributing to it with the hope of building out that set of contributors, right? I think, if you look at some of the labs that we have, that's definitely the case. And even some of the projects as I started with incubation prior to moving to graduated were in that state. So I definitely think this is a good sort of thing to document as far as what it is. I think that there's possibly some stuff that we can do with LFX Insights. It would be great if there was some sort of API for this, but I don't think there is, right? But I think there's some way that we can actually see this, obviously, in LFX Insights. And I wonder if what we really want for this badge is not a yes/no sort of answer, but a number of organizations or something like that, right? Something that people can see kind of how decentralized it is or not. Because in the end,
Exactly.
I think for people who use projects, that's what they really care about, right? Is how well is this going to be maintained if company X drops out of maintaining this project, right? Is it still going to go on? Is it going to have a future and that sort of thing?
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm, it's not to me like a yes, no, it's a, hey, what is the actual diversity?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Do we want to specify a minimum number of organizations one needs to graduate? I think the informally, I mean, as you said about labs, and this is what Arno also told us when he sponsored our the Weaver lab when we proposed it first, was the lab could be maintained by one organization, but to be a full project, you need to have at least two. So it seems to me the informal criteria is two, or the minimum. Do you want to keep it to two, or do you want to increase it? Okay.
Yeah, so I think it depends on the stage. I think that to make sense for incubation, I think we actually say in our incubation exit criteria that it has to be 3.
Incubation to graduation should be 3, right?
Yeah, I think that's what we have currently documented.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Got it.
I wanted to add in some thoughts on this topic, right? This is a subjective term. I know previously we have approved projects with less than 3 companies contributing, and there is possibility that because of importance of the project or for some other reason, this could vary. Maybe how about the badge? Instead of indicating that project meets this criteria, we rather try and show this is the current diversity rating, and it could be a number, for instance, number of organizations, and it can show 2, or at least like minimum of 2 organizations are supporting, and or it could be number as well, saying that these many contributors have been contributing. The badge does not need to be like a binary one. It could be count.
But yeah, that's what I think Tracy was also talking about when she said it's not a yes or no question. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. What do we do for the incubation to graduation criteria though? That as Tracy's posted on the chat, at least 3 legally independent committers required. So, Arun, do you think that should be relaxed? Like, should we have a if a project is if everybody can see how important a particular project is, and if it meets all the other criteria, should we allow it to graduate even with the 2 organizations backing it?
Right. I think there is this difference between committers versus organization. I remember having these discussions some time back
Mhm.
when this was proposed, right? So independent committers and organizations are not mapped one-on-one.
Right.
I think it makes sense to continue having 3 independent committers, but how do we measure it is what we can come up with here.
Yeah, the measurement is an interesting question. I think in Cacti, we do require at least peer approvals from at least 2 different orgs. So that way, even though we have a bunch of different committers, if both committers are say from Accenture, then that won't fly. You need one from 2 different orgs. So I think okay. Okay, so
I think the intention of this requirement is that if an organization pulls support from the project, that the project is not gonna languish, right? It's not gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, and the reason to have 3 independent committers is so that you're not having full control over the project, right? So for example, if one committer submits something and 2 of the other committers or maintainers are you know, from a single organization, they could gang up and say, no, we don't want that to be submitted, right?
Yeah.
And I think that becomes a bottleneck for a project. I've seen it actually in the past where you've got just 2 organizations with 2 maintainers from each organization. Somebody submits it, it's very possible that that never gets committed because, you know, it just the people either don't want it or they haven't got around to reviewing it or whatever the case may be. And so I think the you know, the intention here is to make sure that the project can continue to succeed and move forward and is healthy, and isn't really controlled and maintained by a single organization. And that's really the intent behind this incubation exit criteria, for being graduated, if you will. I think that this is one of the main sort of criteria that the TOC tends to look at when a project does request to get graduated. You know, I think this is probably above all the other ones, the one that most people tend to look at because they're thinking about how is this a healthy and mature community that is going to succeed.
Right. Yeah, no, all the criteria you outlined make a lot of sense. So then tentatively, can we say that for graduation, you need to have 3 independent committers or from at least 2 different orgs? Because the statement you mentioned does not have orgs in it, right? Okay, it actually means 3 legally independent means 3 different orgs. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and also as you mentioned earlier, if suppose one organization drops out, then at least temporarily you have 2 organizations who are monitoring each other, right? So or at least collaborating what they're doing. So
well, and then that becomes a question: is that the point at which something should head back to incubation, right? And then the question becomes now, if we're doing that, are these states the right states? These names for these states the right states? Right, and that's why this whole task force exists, is because it's like there's a lot to think about here, around how do we make sure that people can understand the true state of the project, versus, you know, what the you know, incubated, graduated state is. We're really trying to make sure that people can understand, you know, this is how healthy this community is.
That makes sense. Arun, any other thoughts on this?
No, Rama, that covers.
Okay. So I guess for now, so tentatively we'll say that for graduated status, we should have three organizations or three legally independent committers, and for other stages, maybe for proposal and for the incubation stage, that can be relaxed. I know that's already the practice right now. You have several 2 org projects that are in incubation stage at this point. So
Yeah, I also wonder if there's like an addition to this that we should have, right? I mean, I think this is one piece of it, but I think there's also the other piece, which is, all right, so let's say you have 3 legally independent committers, but you have 8 total committers and 5 of those are from one company.
Mhm.
Then that one company still is basically controlling it. Right, they're controlling the direction of that project, they're controlling where it goes and how it works. So I think there's this other question about ensuring kind of that they're I don't know what the word is that I want to use. That there's some neutrality there as well, I guess, is the way that I want to think about that, right? That
right.
you know, it's not, hey, I'm one of those legally independent committers that falls into the 3 category, right? The 3 number. I submit something, and because we've got these 5 committers from one organization, they can stop things from happening. And we currently have that right now in one of our projects, right? Where one of the organizations has got the majority of the committers, and they are graduated, and I think it causes some conflict within that community for the independent committers, if you will, right? To be able to get some things done that they need done. And so I've seen some arguments being done in that community, and to me that's not a healthy community. You know, it's something that we should be aware of, and people should understand that, as you come in and want to use this, if you find a feature or an issue that you need to correct, and it's never going to get committed because the one controlling entity decides that it's not something that they're interested in taking care of, then that becomes an issue for moving that project forward and for that adopter to actually use that project. So I don't know, right, how we cover that. I don't even know if it's this point or if it's another point, but I do just want to bring that up as a potential thing for us to be considering.
Yeah, no, point taken. I'm sure we can derive some sort of statistical measure that will tell us how what the variance is between the numbers. Question is, what do we do with that? As you said, if one organization has 5 and then you have 2 organizations, 1 each, what implication does it have for the project's status? Maybe it just means that we'll have to that I think we have to consider what the review process is, or the monitoring process is. We may need to periodically check with the minority members to ask whether or not they feel welcome as members and contributors of the particular project. And as long as they say, yep, we're doing fine, then I think the project can maintain its decentralization badge.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this something we need a GitHub action for? I'll just put that as a question, but I'm not sure if we necessarily do. It's probably something that can be we can trust that the project will self-certify itself.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we do a GitHub action. I think if the LFX had an API, we could probably do something right around that, but I'm not sure how we how we do that today, unless we actually like running those Git queries ourselves to see like what it looks like. But then we'd also have to have like a list of email addresses mapped to organizations, and that's where it becomes a challenge, right? So
Right.
at this point, I don't know that we have a programmatic way to do it. And so I think it's going to have to be a something that
Self-certification.
is reported, self-reported.
Yeah, I was thinking about some field that we require the maintainers to have to add, which indicates their organization. But yeah, I don't know where you would add it.
Well, I mean, that could be really interesting because it could be in the maintainers.md file. And then we could
That's a good
parse
point,
those
yeah.
maintainers.md files and do something that way. So yeah, I mean, maybe then there is a way we could do this programmatically.
Yeah, let me just make note of that. Okay, so moving on to the next next criteria. Okay. Release. This project ships and executes in the public. I think it's all the projects already do this as a matter of course. The thing is, are we saying that they need to be issuing releases at a particular frequency, or what is the criteria here?
So yeah, just reading this, when you first said release, that's exactly what I thought, right? Well, we could just look at GitHub and see when the
Yeah.
last release was. You know, and maybe that's part of this is, you know, how frequently does a release occur? I mean, I know we have it in our quarterly reports, right, to ask about releases because there is this question of, you know, have you figured out one, how to do releases? And two, do you do them on a frequent basis, right, or a regular basis? Do you have some sort of cadence for that? But looking at the rest of this criteria, right, about the roadmap and executing on the roadmap and things like that, like that's going to be hard to programmatically figure out. Obviously, we could require projects to have a roadmap.md file or something like that, but yet, how do we know whether or not they're actually executing on that? The only way to know that is if there's some way to also in that roadmap say that X is closed or Y is closed or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, I don't know. I see Arun has his hand up, so maybe he has some thoughts.
Right. I think I remember the context of this particular topic. So there were a few projects in Hyperledger where, because of the way committers or the maintainers worked, there were discussions happening in private channels outside of the community forum channels, and they knew what needs to be done, and all the discussions used to happen in maybe a Slack, which is in a private setup kind of environment, and that's where the project execution was requested to happen publicly. That way, like, everybody is aware of what's happening. I also remember there were discussions on using any tooling that project team uses also to be in public. I believe like creating RFCs was one of the outcome of this, and many projects started following that and starting to use the GitHub issues for issue tracking. I guess that was another outcome. Yeah, that's what I remember based on
The RFC. Okay, the RFCs are also, I guess, they checked in as files into the repo, right? So that's basically as public as any other PR. Do you think that is adequate for the goals that you just articulated, which I think are important? Yeah.
I think that was one of the many outcomes of this discussion, probably.
Okay. Yeah, no, the RSC process itself, because I'm actually involved in RSC drafting process in the ITF, so I sort of have an idea of how they do it. Yeah, it's done like completely publicly with anybody, with people continuously discussing what ought to go into a spec and then critiquing what anybody else is proposing to add to a particular spec. If that sort of process is followed before an RFC gets uh, submitted as a PR, I think that'd be great. Do you think all the projects do that right now?
I don't think they all do. I mean, I guess we
Yeah.
could check to see. Let's see. Yeah, .com Hyperledger. If I could spell. Search for. Normally it's a separate repo, so RFCs. Right now we have Fabric, Aries, Transact, and Sawtooth all have a separate repo called something -RFC, right? Project -RFC.
And in Cacti, we
Um,
have because the Weaver code is still under the Weaver folder. Under Weaver, there's an RFCs folder, but Cacti itself does not have one. So that's
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's the case, right? Like some of the projects might have it internally within their repos, but you
Yeah.
know, these 4 projects have separate ones,
Mhm.
which I think is actually I like to see them somewhat separately because I
Yeah.
think it's easier to look at and follow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it doesn't. It's obviously up to the project, and you know, some of these aren't very active. I think the one that's most active, if you look at right now, kind of the GitHub activity, it shows that you know, Fabric was obviously updated 5 hours ago, but if you look at the peaks of the Aries RFC, that's the one that seems to do a lot of work in the RFCs
Yeah.
area. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I think there's you know different levels of activity here, and maybe we could take a look at based on the activity. Are they doing things like this public, you know, RFC process?
Should this be a hard and fast criteria for graduation, do you think? The RFCs?
It's not currently, but I wouldn't object to that for sure.
Okay. Overall, in the release, I think what is easy to measure is how frequently does project issue releases. What is hard to measure is and checking for the presence of an RFCs folder is easy, but again, verifying whether that folder was produced through proper engagement with the community, that's going to be hard. And more generally, what Arun was talking about, trying to figure out if the project's contributions all emerged from discussions in a public forum, that's also going to be kind of hard to measure.
Yeah.
So, maybe we can have again, we can have a GitHub action for what is easy to measure, which is the release frequency. For the other part of it, we will just have a sort of self-certification. So this particular badge will have multiple attributes, and as long as you meet all those attributes, you get the badge. I think that's the only thing I can think of at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely we can use the GitHub action for releases. We can probably also do something where we either require that roadmap.md file to see kind of that they have a public roadmap, which I think is a good thing. And then we can also check for the RFCs folder, right? And see like the activity that's happening there. Is it frequent activity? Is it you know, has it been updated recently? Is it to me, if things are if an RFC is not being updated at least one RFC isn't being updated recently, then they're probably not doing that work publicly, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think there are some things we can definitely programmatically do, but I think you're right. There's some things here that there's no way to guarantee that they're actually executing on that roadmap, right? Or
Yeah.
that is being done. So yeah, I think we can at least, like you said, do the easy stuff and then highlight what else we might want to check.
Right. Thanks. Sorry, can you give me just a quick second? Somebody at the door. Just check and come
Yeah,
back.
no problem.
I'm back.
Okay.
So moving on to the next one. Testing. I think this is more tractable, and I think we know kind of what it means. The measurement here is, I would say, test coverage, right? How much, or rather code coverage, how much of the code does the test suite cover? Though that can be, I mean, if somebody just writes tests for one particular module and they can get like close to 100% there, if they don't bother to write tests for other modules, then the number that'll show up is like 100. So that's also not something. Yeah, I mean, you can beat a monitoring system that way.
Yeah, this is testing is always one of those things that you can manipulate, I guess, as far
Yeah.
as showing that you're doing a good job, but yet you're not really doing a good job. Especially if those tests aren't even valid, right, or useful in any way,
Right.
shape, or form. So
I mean, if all the code were written according to a standard template in one particular language, one particular software style, then it's possible to, I think, do that. But at this point, all repositories have like a mix of different kinds of code. So it's basically very hard to monitor or even check that in an automated fashion.
yeah, I mean, I think what's important here is kind of the idea of you've got a standard sort of process for doing releases, and then in that process, it actually includes a set of tests that are being run. But yeah, I think this is a difficult one for sure in my mind. Yeah, I don't know. How critical do we think this badge is?
So let me answer the question indirectly. I had a proposal for another different kind of badge called production, which is the software currently being used in at least one production grade system outside of Happy Ledger? And we can verify that either because it's public or if a particular consumer or customer can verify that this is being used, can certify that. If it is being used in production system, chances are that it has adequate testing because nobody's going to use it in production otherwise. So that's potentially one thing, but then that would be it kind of be a different kind of badge, I guess. So which is why I listed it separately here.
Yeah, I like the production aspect. I think that makes a lot of sense because I think a project that is mature enough will have adopters, right? They will have people using it in production. I think there's obviously some stages that projects go through, right? Where people are starting to use them for proof of concepts or pilots. And then eventually they become, you know, things that become into production. And I think if we could try to, you know, see about the adopters and what kind of stage their projects are in, I think that will tell us a lot about the one, usefulness of the project, and two, whether or not it is, you know, fairly healthy as far as what it is, or fairly mature in its development cycle.
Right.
So I actually like the production one a lot more than I like the testing one.
Okay, cool. I mean that I think that's yeah, that's why we're having the discussion to see if the badges like that defined correctly, or you know, we can maybe take apart the badges and have different aspects of those badges being covered. So one aspect of, or one implication of testing is sort of covered by its being production ready.
I think
Yeah.
my perspective are a little different from that. And so when I see testing, and if let's say I'm the user of a project and I'm completely new to Hyperledger, I don't know this particular project. For me to gain confidence on this, I need to know if this particular project has been tested or what kind of testing is going on. And
Yeah.
if there is one single place where I can find all that information, it could be links to the testing report itself, right? Does not need to be saying that this test report guarantees that the project meets XYZ criteria. It could be as simple as the project has these kind of testing. Here are the places where somebody can go and find these reports. Even that much is good enough for me as a user so that I can gain confidence by myself. I can judge on my own instead of relying on some automated tooling.
So if someone goes and looks at the GitHub Actions configured for a repository, chances are that if you have a long list of actions, they are running a bunch of test suites. From like in our own project, we have a bunch of actions which are running unit tests, and then you have a bunch of actions that are running integration tests, like cross-component integrations. So is that something you think could that serve as the test report that you're looking for?
Or how do we gain the confidence, right? So presence
Yeah,
of GitHub
the
Actions
confidence is you'll have to gain. Okay, maybe there's room to generate a kind of report that you're talking about, but even before that, if you go into the let's take as an example, let's take a node package. Then if you're running node tests, if you have if you've written unit tests for a node package, and then it usually gives you a code coverage. So if you go through the list of actions and you go through the unit tests and see, okay, for this particular module, I see code coverage is at like 90%. So you know, you can see that at least for that particular package. Now, whether or not all the actions that have been configured collectively cover enough of the entire code base or not, that is going to be hard to judge. But at least I think if you see a bunch of actions, each of them having showing how much code coverage there is, and showing, of course, that all the tests are passing, that should give users some reassurance. Huh?
or this is how I think, right? Let's say I start using a specific project and I find there is some issue with the project. Then I would like to go and see if I can fix that issue or at least raise an issue for that scenario.
Yep.
And that scenario is coverable through some test case. It could be through integration test or a unit test. And as long as I'm guaranteed that project has a process to run these unit tests or integration tests on some triggers or some regular workflows scenarios, it gives me confidence that, let's say I go and fix it, or maybe I go and add a test case around that scenario, that this issue will not happen again because project team takes care of running these tests regularly.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think if you look at the actions that are currently configured for at least some of the projects, I haven't seen all of the projects. They do have this. So you sort of know that, yeah, if you're updating a particular connector within Cacti, for example, and you can see by looking in the GitHub Actions for Cacti that there is a test connector XYZ action configured. So at least you know that if you do something which messes up some core features, so there is the test is watching out for regressions. So you will you have that assurance. That's kind of what you're saying, right? No?
Right.
How do we? But is there a way to like automatically infer this? You think, or is this something also that one will have to maybe self-certify, and then one TOC member will have to go and inspect the project?
I see this as kind of self-reporting and not necessarily like every 3 months or every year. It would be one-time sharing of information, and a particular project team would go and tell us, here are the links for report generated for unit tests. Here are the links for integration test reports. And that's like one-time effort project teams would need to do. And they don't even need to necessarily report it to TOC, right? It could be a standard, let's say a standardized README version of their project, where they display all the results, or maybe all the links are provided through that README file. And it's one-time effort from project teams. And measuring those things could be subject to TOC. And with that, with at least the annual report thing coming into TOC from next January onwards, and that could be one of the thing that the people who review annually can take care of.
So are you suggesting we ask the maintainers to include some sort of a test coverage report.md file?
Sure, yeah, that would help.
So right now we have, I mean, if we go to, let's say, okay, not here, let's say, does Fabric have this? Just checking. Ah, okay, these are different things. Okay. Potentially, you could ask maintainers to also tag on these sort of badges, I think, which can be updated through GitHub Actions, or we prefer a separate MD file.
If we can cover those links here, then that's good.
Okay. Okay, maybe add notes on these, and we can, yeah, we can maybe make a call on this later. Okay. What is next? Documentation. There's also, this I think has to be a necessary criteria for various stages. I think this has to be a criteria even for incubation. There needs to be some documentation. But beyond what we need to go from one stage to another, how would we measure documentation, or how would we evaluate documentation? Is it what I noted here was we have when it comes to documentation. Okay, maybe I didn't note here, but there's the documentation task force, of course, and there's also the template project documentation that Tracy created early this year, and we could maybe at the minimum require that the documentation be in that format, or at least cover the set of topics that that Tracy had listed in the as in the make docs template. So as long as the project offers public documentation that covers those topics and has roughly the same look and feel, maybe that could qualify for a badge, for the documentation badge.
Yeah, I like that. I think there's a question of how do we determine that, right? Again, it seems a bit manual. Obviously we can see if they have a docs folder in the repo or a separate, project dash docs repo, to see if documentation even exists. But then how do we determine whether or not it has, tutorials, or it has installation overview, or something like that, right? I think that's where it becomes more challenging. Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Actually, if you do, and maybe you need to ask Bobby what that task was coming up with. But if we do mandate that everybody use the make docs template that you had, then we could write a GitHub action that could go into the docs folder and just do a quick scan to see if it has all the folders corresponding to or maybe just look into the parse that particular file, because you need a file with the table of contents right up front. It will require a bit of work to do this parsing, but I think once done, it should work for to at least to check if all projects are covering at least the topics defined in your template.
Yeah. The question is, and here's where I paused on that, because I was thinking the same thing, Rama. The reason I didn't actually state that was because I was thinking, what if I have an empty installation file,
Yeah.
or I have an empty tutorials file, right? Where all it basically is the heading, and I, like have a fix me or a to do or something like that, right? It's the content. Then it would pass, but yet it shouldn't pass. And so I mean, obviously there's things that we could do to see, like, based on the size of the file or something like that. Does it, at least
Sure.
look somewhat reasonable? But yeah, I don't know how we ensure that, somebody just hasn't put together a blank template.
And that's exactly the same problem you have with the test coverage too. One could write unit
Yeah.
tests which report vacuously
Yep,
report full coverage. So yeah. Okay. Okay. I mean, in the absence of any other like silver bullet ideas about how to measure documentation, I guess this also will at least be partly self-certified criteria, or self-certified plus review. Somebody, one TOC member can probably go and check it out and see if the project is complying with the spirit of the rule. Arun, you have anything else? Yes.
No, Raman, that's good.
Thanks. Okay, alignment. This project aligns with the goals and principles of the Hyperledger project.
I don't think we actually need this. I think if it's been accepted into labs or incubation or graduated, right? Like, it
Yeah.
does meet the goals. Unless a project completely, like, switches its purpose for some reason. I think, yeah, I just don't know that we really need this one.
Arun, any contrary opinions, or you think that's okay?
think I'm good because of the annual review process that we are introducing, and they can recommend project teams if there is anything needs their attention.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the thing we're looking for is to ensure that if we say we get rid of this, at least these things are covered somewhere. And I think, as Tracy said, the fact that the project must have salient use cases and show how it fits into Hyperledger architecture, that's kind of already covered by their proposal. Otherwise, we won't even approve the proposal. So probably that's yeah, maybe we can take that as proof. Infrastructure. I think yeah, the key thing that jumps out at me here is about using the various channels. I think we need to, of course, it's not Rocket Chat anymore, it's Discord. We need to, yeah, this is 2.5 years ago. So we do need to try and figure out if the project is actually using the particular channels. As Arun said, it's possible that those channels exist. I mean, it's not possible. All projects have those channels, but maybe they're using some of the private channels to discuss and all the substantive questions. So I actually had another. This is related to this, but I had a separate badge here. I don't know whether to call it responsiveness or engagement. This is about our maintainers engaging with the community and responding reasonably promptly to questions and solicitations. And maybe the onboarding task force has something to say about this. But I think just the activity on particular Discord channel, like I think every project has a project name contributors channel and a project name users channel, right? So if there is some sort of automated way by which we can measure the activity on those channels, I think that could be something that would be could be useful there. Of course, I realize I'm talking about two separate things. This particular badge is just talking about whether or not the project is has those things set up, right? And what I had here was more about how actively they're getting used, and whether or not the recommended infrastructure is the way, or at least the primary way in which the maintainers engage with each other and with the public. So,
Yeah, I think there's some interesting things that we could think about here. I don't know if it's possible, but each of the projects has a maintainers list, right? Within Discord. Like Cacti maintainers, I think is what it's called, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
And so we know who the people are on Discord who should be responding as maintainers. If we can see like how active they are in their channels, as well as like how active the channel is at all, right? So if you think about Iroha, they don't use the Hyperledger Discord. I think they have a bot set up to communicate with what is it? Gitter, I think is what they use. But like I still don't see a lot of things happening in the Iroha channel. So either the bot is broken or there's not, the communication is happening somewhere else, right? And so like I think we can definitely use like activity that's happening there to see how if people are coming to the right location to get their questions answered or not. And then the responsiveness or like you said, the engagement, are contributors or maintainers actually responding to the questions. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then I think the other one that is listed here under criteria is this common repository structure. which I think is useful as well. But to me, those are two separate things, right? One is
Yeah.
the, responsiveness or the engagement from the maintainers. The other one is have the maintainers set up a perfect, conforms to kind of what the recommended practices are. That's great.
No, that makes
So
sense.
I think
Yeah,
I think we could get rid of the infrastructure in favor of the two that you added. Right.
sure. I'll make a note of that.
Because again, when a project's accepted into the Hyperledger organization, the community architects create the mailing list, they create the channels. So they create the repo structures, right? Whatever is needed there.
Right.
So those first three kind of criteria are automatic once the project gets accepted. The second two, I think you cover elsewhere.
Right. I mean, yeah, I mean, these things are all really created by Rai and David and the admin team, right? Not by the maintainers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so they should be getting the badge. I was just thinking of something I still remember. Oh yeah, the engagement. So I was just wondering if sometimes I think the maintainers try to divide and rule or divide and conquer, sorry. Some of them may focus on PR, others may focus on community engagement. So it may not necessarily be the case that if some maintainers never respond on the Discord channels, that they are not actually engaged. So just need to be careful of that.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I also have seen people who do like rotations,
Yeah.
right? Where this week, person X responds, next week, person Y responds. And so I think, definitely need to be careful in the area of how we judge whether or not somebody is engaged or not.
Makes sense. Okay, so we are almost at the end of the meeting slot. So let's resume next time. Maybe next scheduled meeting is 2 weeks from now. But if either of you are available next week, maybe we can even continue then.
Let me just check.
Isn't this festival like 2 weeks from now in India? The Ganesha festival?
Ganesh Chaturthi is 18th September. That's Monday. At least for our holidays, Monday.
Okay, understood.
What is it? Your place?
Oh, I just knew it was around that time. I did not know the exact date. Sorry.
Okay. No, I did check up on this. We have a holiday on Monday the 18th, so it's not a Friday.
Yeah, I'm free next week if we do decide to do another meeting next week.
Okay. Let's. I mean, we can revisit that decision. In any case, I think next Thursday I'm supposed to talk about this during the TSC call, right? So we can decide then.
Well, yeah, I think because we did canceled yesterday's call, yours is going to get pushed out until the following week.
Okay. Okay, maybe I'll just check with you guys on Thursday, and if you're free the following day, then we can have a call.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Thanks so much, Tracy and Arun. Great call. Made a lot of progress.
Yeah, good discussion.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you next
Have a
week.
great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.